Good evening, everyone. Just quickly give you a summary of what we have seen technically. So with the Java part, as I told you, first we started with the architecture, then work with data types, conditional iterative statement, methods, how to create a static method or non-static method, call it variable, and the exact definition of classes and object with some real-time example of student type, employee type. So any class is basically a user-defined data type which you can return or which you can pass it as a parameter. So if you see any argument like a class name, you have to create an object and you have to pass it. So that's what we have seen. So based on that only Selenium codes are described over here. Already it's a created project which we have to use it and do the operation. Selenium related concepts. Okay, so basic operation is what we have seen in the last class, how to click, type, and then important concept of synchronization. Okay, implicit it is what I explained you. So first we understand how to launch the browser with Selenium WebDriver. To launch the browser, this concept is Selenium WebDriver concept. We created a project. After creating the project, we started configuring the jar. Okay, some set of classes methods is given by the Selenium team, third-party team. So we have to download it and add it to the project. Once they add it to the project, we have to create the object for Chrome driver. Okay, the object you need to create, and basically you need to store it in the parent for achieving the cross-browser testing. We'll see detail on that OOPS concept Friday. So we were able to launch the browser. Then we started doing the basic activities like click, type, select. If you know how to do click, type, select, you can click and type is what we have completed, I guess. Yeah, if you know how to do click, type, select, we can easily achieve of some 50 to 60% of the pages you can easily cover with these operations. Okay, apart from that, we have to understand how to work with dynamic web pages and also on multiple tabs, frames concept, and alerts handling. Okay, and then working on some advanced concepts using scripts. Those are the things which you have to work on, mouse over keyboard activities and all. So it is going to be like a step-by-step process. As I told you, if you understand some part of Java classes and object properly, you can easily go through the documentation and you can easily achieve the automation on using Selenium. And that is what we have discussed in the last class. And we did some automation script, and then I gave you some assignment. First, we'll solve those assignments. Okay. It's better you can everyone can open the Eclipse and start doing it. These things you have to practice. So we have enough time. You can practice during the class hours itself. Okay. In the last class, what I did is I just created a. Let me delete this project. This may not be. So parallelly, if you learn Java, you will get a clear idea about the Java concept also. So you see, last class we have seen how to launch the browser. To launch the browser, you have to create an object. Okay, on object creation, the browser gets launched. That is basically through constructor. Some constructor will be there inside this class. There could be a constructor, or in the parent class, there could be a constructor which helps us in launching the browser. Whatever the script you write with Selenium WebDriver, it will try to send the script to the driver exe file. You have to download the exe file and configure it, which we already done. If you don't configure the exe file, this Chrome driver, message driver, based on your browser, you need to configure. Otherwise, you will be getting this error, illegal state exception, with the key. So using the key, you can set the driver detail. That's what we have seen. And then once the browser is launched, this code is going to launch the browser. Once the browser is launched, you can do all the activities, navigate and do the operation. And then we started doing the Facebook sign up activity where we handle the click activity, clicking on a link and entering a data in the text box, and then doing the activity with the radio button. Click is the activity. Click and type is what you have seen. Today we'll quickly work on go to meeting. So let me open the assignment which I shared you. See these assignments what I give you. It will be like stages. If you are able to solve those assignments stage by stage, it will be easy for you to work in a project. All the application which I'm giving is going to be a live application only. So only rarely we will use the demo application just to work on the framework level. So I gave you this task. I want you to navigate to this URL. Okay. Let me ping you. I want to navigate to this URL and do the operation. Let me quickly create a package. Anyone is having a doubt in setting up the project? Okay. Maybe I'll create one new project and do it for assignment. First, I need to create a Java project. Now, after creating a Java project, Selenium assignment, I'll create the project name. Now, after creating the Java project, this is a simple Java project I create. Now, in this project, in order to work with the Selenium, what is required? First thing, so what is required after creating the project? We need to add the configurations. Basically, Java related code will be given by the Java team, that is by default configured with Eclipse. Now, Selenium related code, we have to download it from the internet. So you can go to selenium.dev. The selenium.dev, you will go to downloads. Okay, yeah, Selenium Libraries. So this one you need to download, latest stable version, selenium.dev 4.12. That is what you need to download. After downloading it, you can you will get a jar like this. Under D drive, I kept my jars. Create one folder like software or anything, and then you can keep the jars. This is the jar. This jar contains a set of packages which we call it as Selenium. That's a Java code only. It does operation on the web application. To configure the jar to the project, you have to right click on the project, build path, configure build path. Under configure build path, you have to choose libraries. Then under libraries, you see module path and class path. Just click on the class path and then add external jar. Jar is present outside the project. So you have to use add external jar. Then browse the jar where it is available. Choose the jar, click on open. Jar will be configured. Apply and close. You see immediately you will get reference library. Under reference library, the external jars will be mapped, and external jars will contain some set of packages. These packages contains the Chrome driver, Firefox driver for doing the operation with the browser. Now project setup is done. Selenium jar is added. We can create the package and class, and then we can create the object. Let me create the object quickly. So com dot nsc dot, I will give it as a Selenium assignment, right? So let me keep it as March 21. That is the March 21st assignment. So I'll just keep that. Inside that, I'll create one new class. That's basically a go to meeting. So go to meeting. I'll keep go to meeting test. The empty should be in uppercase. With main method is what I'm creating. That's done. So after creating the main method, you can launch the browser. To launch the browser, we have to create an object for new Chrome driver object, Firefox driver object we need to create. Now, objects and all, we will try to store it in the parent. Parent web driver is a parent, and Chrome driver, Firefox driver, all these are a child class, okay, which implements the web driver. So web driver is a parent. These are all child. Object of child, you can store it in the parent. I'll show you a demo on Friday by explaining the same OOPS concept, exactly what is Selenium, how Selenium is designed. Similar project, I'll create it on Friday. Okay. So till now with Java, we have seen till the constructor part, I guess. Till the constructor part, I just gave you an idea. We'll see detail about this constructor as well. Now, if you see, whenever you create an object, okay, a constructor will be called. If you don't create any constructor, a default constructor will be there. If you create any constructor, then that constructor will get called. For example, in the employee class, I created a constructor. Constructor name and class name will be same. Without parameter is what I created. When this will be called, whenever you create an object, you can see 3 objects I created. Whenever I create an object, constructor gets called. 4 object is what I created. Yeah, one is through the method I created the object. Okay, 4 times we are creating an object. So 4 times you can see constructor is getting called. Just this line is enough basically to get a call to the constructor. Just object creation is enough. Okay. While creating an object only, constructor will be called basically. Listen here, first object I'm creating here, one object I'm creating. While creating an object, constructor gets called. Okay, so you can assume that in this place they might have launched the browser, and then we'll move on with the browser launch activity and complete the operation. If I run the script, this is a Selenium script which we have designed in the last class, launching the browser. If I run the script, in method will get triggered and it will try to create an object for Chrome driver. While creating an object for Chrome driver, it will try to check for the driver file, whether it is there or not. Okay. If it is available in your system at the path level, environment path level, it will pick. Right now, you see we got this error. How to fix this error? All these error details I have already marked in the notes. You can see after creating a project class, illegal state exception. So how to fix this? This illegal state exception path to the driver must be executed, must be set by the webdriver.chrome.driver. So what we need to do to set this? What we need to do to we are writing the code and we are running it. The code requires the driver. Whenever you run the code, it will search for the driver. Okay, now if driver is not available, it will throw this error, illegal state exception. To set the driver, you can use the key, copy the key, and then you can use Java code and set it. So for example, system the class dot set property. The set property key value pair will be there. Key is nothing but webdriver.chrome.driver. What will be the value? What should we keep it as value?
Chrome driver exe path.
Yeah, so based on your Chrome browser, this Chrome browser version, about Chrome, you see the version detail. Based on my Chrome browser version, I have to download the driver. The driver will be given by the Selenium team. Under browsers, you see Chrome. Let me open it in new document. You can see this version is what I need to download. After downloading it, I have to extract it. Once I extract it, I get this file, exe file. This I'll copy the path. Copy path in the sense you have to copy the file name extension also. You can click on this, it will copy it. I have to pass this as a second argument. Okay. Now in Java, backward slash is always having a special meaning. Backward slash is always having a special meaning. For directory, you need to give 2 backward slash. For directory, you need to give 2 backward slash. Okay. Now this code will try to launch the browser. Driver will be set with that key. During the runtime, object creation will happen. Object will be using the key and find the driver. Whatever the code you run, it will try to send it to the driver. You can see driver will be running in the background. We did not kill the driver properly. We just launched the browser. Along with Chrome browser, you can see from morning I was taking some session. See all the drivers are running. Okay, right now some driver got triggered. We have to close the driver also properly. Okay, we'll see that. Now, after that, I wanted to launch, like, maximize. As I told you, once you launch the browser, maximize it immediately. Driver.manage.window. All these methods are going to return some object. Okay, all these methods are going to return some object. That object you can store it in the respective type, and then you can call, or you can call it in a single line. Dot maximize. Maximize is going to return a void, so we are not storing it. Then set the implicit weight. If you don't set the implicit weight, you will understand the problem here. Okay, I'll tell you what is the importance of implicit weight. Let me navigate to the URL without implicit weight and show. This is the URL I want you to navigate, and then after navigating to this URL, you can open an incognito window on this site. In this URL, I wanted to click on accept recommended settings. This option, let me inspect it. Whenever it comes to the operation, you should know what is the tag name. Tag name is button. This style, ID, type, class, all these are attribute, and this is your text. Okay, every HTML will have tag name, attributes, and text. Text, some element will have, some element will not have. Using those options only, we can identify the element, the basic locators. Okay, first preference will give it to ID. For this element, you can see there is an ID. It has an ID over here, so we can use ID for clicking on that element. ID is first preference. If ID is not there, then we'll check for name. If it is a radio button, name could be duplicate. You have to validate. Class name and tag name, as of now, you avoid it. Link text, partial link text, you can use only for the tag name A. Can we use link text, partial link text here? It's a text only. Can we use link text, partial link text here?
No, because tag name is button.
Yeah, so remember that the link or partial link can be used only for anchor tag. This is your anchor tag, A tag. Here the tag name is button. You can't use link text or partial link text. In case if you don't have ID, we will be writing an XPath. We have started with XPath. To XPath I gave you. We will be writing an XPath using this tag name text equal to that element. Okay, that will also work. Okay, so tag name for this, if I want to write the XPath, I can use this XPath / button square bracket syntax within the single quotes. I can give the entire text. This XPath you can write. You can validate also before taking it. Here it has ID. We will use ID only. Control F here, Control F, and paste it. Points to element. Using this, you can automate the element, or there's an ID. Let me copy the ID and go to the script and do the operation. Driver dot find element. Okay, and you see find element argument you need to understand. Find element is asking for byte type. Okay, byte type. Something like employee. If it is asking for employee, then what I'll do is I'll be sending an employee object. If it is asking for student, then I'll be sending a student object. If it is asking for Chrome driver in the argument, if it is asking for Chrome driver, I have to send the object of Chrome driver. Now it is asking for byte type. You have to give the object detail of byte type. So hereafter, in this scenario, we don't want to create the object. There is a class. You can see there is a class called by Selenium Java doc. There is a class called by class. You can see there is a class called by, class name by. This class is having lots of static methods. And these static methods, like locators, all the locators, ID, name, class name, partial link text, tag name, all these are static methods. The return type of these static methods are going to be by. The return type of these static methods is going to be by. Return type of, like I created a method with employee as a return type, so that whoever call that method, it will return an employee object. Okay, any class can be a return type. Okay, now here driver dot find element by dot the class name dot static method I need to call by dot id. You see the argument is string, id detail, I have to give it as a string. It will collect the string and then convert into a by object. You can see return type is by here. So driver dot find element always ask for by type. It will always ask for by type. You can give by dot id, by dot name, by dot text path, whatever it is, it will go into return the by type. Okay, that is what the understanding you need to know how to identify the element basically. By dot id, you can give the id. Id is case sensitive, so give it properly. Whatever the locator, it's case sensitive. Now find element returns element. So remember that when it comes to Selenium, two important thing to get by type is every class is a type like a data type. To get by type, what you need to do is you have to use either by dot id, by dot name. These options you can use if you want the by type. To get web element, if any method is asking for web element type, any method is asking for web element type, don't get confused. We have to use driver dot find element. Driver dot find element is the method which gives us the web element. In the last class explanation of launch browser, I have shown you driver dot find element returns web element. You can store the web element and then you can do the operation. Or all these we can merge it in a single line and do it. By dot id returns by type, storing in by. Find element returns web element, storing it in web element. Send keys returns void, not storing it anywhere. We can do it by selecting, or we can merge it and write it. Okay, no need to store it unwantedly in all the places. It's always better to write it in a single line initial stages. So driver, but you need to know what find element is returning. Find element is returning a web element right now. This particular script, what it does is it will go to the web page and it will collect this entire, listen carefully, it will collect this entire element. This entire element will be pointed, this entire button, not only that id, it will point to the entire button. Now you can do any operation on this button. You can see there is a web element right now. We got the web element dot get tag name. This method will give the tag name. What is the tag name for this element?
Button.
Button.
Okay, this method basically gives the tag name. Get text is a method which will give you the inner text. If there is an inner text, it will give you. So basically any operation you can apply on this button, but my duty here is to click on. That's what I want. So basic operation is what we are dealing right now. Click type, selecting from the dropdown. Okay, that's the thing. Driver dot find element by dot id dot click. Let me run the script and make sure it's working. Now you see I did not set any implicit wait. I'm just maximizing the browser, navigating to the URL. For the page load, no time limit. It will wait for the page load to happen. Once the page load is done, immediately it will click on the accept recommended setting. Okay, it worked fine. So once the page load is done, you can see this element is there, so it clicked on immediately. Okay, always it will not be stable. Suppose if this comes after 2 seconds or 3 seconds after the page load, it will throw error. Anyhow, this is coming as soon as page load is done, so it's working. Now I need to click on try free. Let me inspect it. Click on recommended setting. This is the one I'm doing it right now. Try free. Okay, it's there. Try free. You can click on here. So which option we can use to click on this A tag? Attributes are there. Text is there. So which option we can use when you see A tag? Link text or partial link text you can use. Here we can use link text. It's a proper text. If it is a huge text or dot of space, then you can go for partial link text. Driver dot find element. Only these methods available. So you don't want to get complex into it. Check for ID. ID is there or not. Use ID. If ID is not there, check for name. Name is not there. If it is A tag, link or partial link text. Otherwise, write the export. Try free. Dot click. Okay. Now, after clicking on try free, you see here, it will go to some site like this. Okay, just go to the site. And what is the code you've written? Like Sanket, right? What is the error you're getting for entering the first name? What is the code you've written? for first name. Did you click on try free
Input
or you clicked on get a demo? You clicked on try free or you clicked on get a demo?
clicked on try free.
Okay. And then what is the locator you've written for first name?
Using XPath,
Just ping me the code. The first name only you can ping me. Label text, yeah. So listen here, like label, it comes when you hover on this thing, it will go for label. Okay, label is something like which is displaying first name. Okay, so whenever it is a text box, you will be able to see the tag name as input. Okay, you click on this and then you try to inspect, then it will show the proper element. You see, when I let me reduce the size, dock it in the bottom. Now if you see here, when I inspect this, label, span, div tag are going to display the text. Okay, when I inspect it directly, you see it just goes to the label part. Sometimes it goes to the label part. That's why you got the confusion actually. Okay, it is actually an input tag. Sometimes it goes to the label. Label will be like just a text displaying first name, right? That's a label. Text box will have always an input tag. Okay, text box, password box, email box, and then radio button, checkbox, all will have the input tag. Now click on it, just click on it or type something, and then you try to right click and inspect some pages only. You will be getting that element. Now you see this element is having an ID. So I can go for ID. Let me take the ID name, these operations we can use. So find the element, driver dot find element, by dot ID. Now dot send keys. Let me type my name. Listen here. Let me run the script. Now I have just launching the browser, navigating to the URL. It will wait for the page load to happen. Once the page load is done, it will try to click on accept recommended setting. And once that is done, it will click on try free. Once that is done, immediately it will try to enter the name. Okay, it's working fine. It's a page load activity only. It's working fine, so no issues. Okay. Suppose if this element takes some time to display, or if this element is not at all coming in the screen, then what will happen is you need the implicit wait. Basically in Facebook, we have seen the problem here. It's a page load, so it clicks on try free, then it's basically a page load activity. So it's waiting for the page load to done, then it's coming. Okay, suppose let me some wrong locator. and then do the operation. It's always important to add the implicit wait in this initial scenarios. You see, if the locator is not there, once the page load is done, we used to get the error immediately. You can see what immediately we got the error. Okay, just in 0.5 second, it will check the presence of element and throw the error. Find element. To overcome that issue, we have to test for some time before throwing the error. So for that, we will increase the implicit wait. By default, it's 0. We'll try to increase the implicit wait to. Implicit wait will ask for duration. To get the duration object, you can use the duration class and call the static method. That method will give you the duration return type will be duration of second long. I have to give 30 second or 20 second. Let me keep it as 20 seconds. Now what will happen is once I set the implicit wait, it's not going to throw the error immediately. It will check for whatever the locator. This ID is not there. So what happens is it will wait for the page load to happen. Once the page load is done, it will start checking for the element. Okay. Now once the start checking for the element, every 0.5 second it checks for this element ID whether it's there or not. And after 20 seconds, it will throw the error. Okay, that's the implicit wait. If the element is not there, it will keep on checking for 20 seconds and then it will throw error. Error will be no such element exception only. That's a wrong locator. It's not there. If the element is there, it will do the operation. That's the implicit wait. Pulling time, all these things which we have discussed in the last class. Same element present, do the operation. Otherwise, it will check for the element for the given time. Every 0.5 second it checks. This conditional wait, you try to add it every time. So click on try free, then first name, last name, email address, all will be same only. You will have ID. So using ID name, you can do the operation. I want to enter the first name, last name, work email. So let me quickly do that. It has ID. Let me use ID and do the operation. Now email. See, always it goes for the label, check for the click on it and then inspect, it will deactivate that element. It is also having an ID. Suppose if ID is not there, you can go for name. Let me use name and show you. Driver dot find element by dot name. You can use this also. It should be unique. Before using the name, just make sure it's unique. And you can give some mail ID in this. Now, after giving the mail ID, I'm not filling the text box here. Just leaving the text box. Company size is there. Listen carefully. Company size. It's a drop down. When you see a drop down, first inspect the drop down. When you see a drop down, first try to inspect it. Okay. And see what is the tag name here for drop down. We'll understand how to automate the drop down. Select tag, right? Select tag. Let's quickly understand this. Drop down. Okay. There's two ways to automate drop down. One is drop down with select tag. Select how to automate drop down without select tag. So like nowadays, most of the application like React.js, AngularJS applications and all looks like a drop down, but it will not have the select tag. Okay. When you have a select tag, drop down with select tag, you have three methods to do it. Select by visible text. It will ask for the text. You have to give the text, string the text, visible text you can give. That is one method. There is one more method, select by value, and you can give the value as a string. And then select by index. Few options are there. index, you have to give the index detail. Okay. Now, all these are non-static method. All these are non-static method coming inside the class select. How will you call these methods? Non-static methods, how do we call that?
Using object.
Using object, we need to do it. There's a class called select. Every drop down, if you see select tag, you have to create an object. There's a class here. There's a class called select. Let's listen here. Class name is select. Let me use select the company size. Okay, let me keep it as select com. Okay, equal to some variable name I'm giving. New select class. This is the object we know how to create object. This is the object we know how to create it. And the select class is coming from Selenium. If you see 2-3 classes, don't get confused. All the classes which you are using related to web automation come from org.openqa. Okay, just click on it. It gets added over here. Okay, select class. Suppose if you add anything by mistake, go to the top, remove the import, again you hover on it. Now, after creating the object, you can see it's throwing error. Select is throwing error. And it says something like constructor select is undefined. And it says one quick fix, add argument to match. It's asking for web element as an argument. We have to send the web element. Okay, we'll see about this in Java. Before that, which method gives us web element? Like how do we get the web element in
Find
Selenium?
element. Find element.
Yes, find element is the method. Whenever it is asking for web element, find element, we have to get the help of find element. Okay, find element is the method which will give you the web element. I pasted it. If it is asking for byte type, then by dot id. If it is asking for find web element is, if it is asking, just go for find driver dot find element. You don't want to create any object. Now what I need to do is you have to give the select tag detail. Driver dot find element we will be using, but find element will ask for byte type. Okay, byte type is nothing but after inspecting this element, you will understand the select tag detail. You have to give the select tag detail. It has a ID or name. You can use any one of this option and give it ID. Let me use by dot ID. So by dot ID. The thing is, by creating an object for this class will take care of automating the drop down with selector. Automating drop down with selector. Now this class contains non-static method. Non-static method is nothing but these methods which I told you. Now, while calling this method, we should know which web element we are dealing with. Okay, that's a prerequisite for the object. Whatever is prerequisite for the object, any class, if you are allowing someone to create an object, if you feel something is prerequisite, you can add it in the constructor. Okay, which I should demonstrate from the Java point of view. Now you can easily call it. It asks for web element. Now the entire this select object will be pointing to this entire select tag. Select tag will inside the select tag only. You will have the option. Let me drop it in the right side. Select tag starts here, ends here. In between that, you see lots of option tag. Now you will have the control of object. Second step is using the reference. I have to call the method. Lot of method will be there. Select the index value visible text. I'm going to use visible text. That's the first preference we'll give. Visible text is nothing but you can see it's asking for string. Return type is void coming from the selector. Visible text is whatever you see in the UI. That's your visible text. 1-9, 10-99. That is your visible text. This visible text comes in between the option tag. The black color text in between the option tag. I want to select count as 1099. You have to copy this. Case sensitive. All these are case sensitive. So give it space properly. Better to copy from here. Copy. Go over here. Select by visible text. in that case. That's how we have to automate the dropdown. Okay, that's done. Now I can fill the detail and click on start my trail. To click on start my trail, you have two more options like select by value, index. Let me give you an idea about it quickly. We'll see that later. Now value, you can see in between the options tag, you can see value attribute. Using this also you can automate the mostly value. If it is a huge text, value will be there. You can give the values and you can automate. That is one option. The other option is using index. If I give index 1, select by index 1, then it will choose the second option. First option is index 0, starts with 0. This first option is index 0. This is the index 1. If I want 10-99, this will be 0, 1, 2. I have to give select by index 2. Anyhow, it's not reliable on these scenarios. If they add one more line, one more option, they go for a toss. When you have a date field like 1 to 31 in Facebook, we have date field there and all. You can use index. Anyhow, it's better to go with visible text. That is not if it is too huge or a lot of space is there, then go for value. Nothing is working out, then you can write the logic using index. Okay. When you have date field with ascending order, descending order, during that time you can go for index. Just got an idea how to automate the dropdown? Whenever you see a dropdown with select tag, create an object for select tag. It will ask for web element. Put the select tag detail here, web element of select tag, and then call this method. To click on, yeah, any doubts? Done. Working fine. Okay. So any doubts with this? Dropdown is clear for you. There is one more dropdown, like it looks like a dropdown, but it may not have the select. Just listen here. The site I'll show you. It looks like a dropdown. Okay, let me inspect it. Let me dock it in the bottom and see what is the tag name here. It looks like a dropdown, but what is the tag name here? It's a span tag, right? So we cannot use the select class for the span tag and all. So if you see like the span tag, div tag and all, what you need to do is write XPath for this and click on it. Write an XPath for this and click on it. To write the XPath, you can use span text all classes. This option you can use, click on it. After clicking on it, inspect it again. write XPath for this using text and click on it. To using the click, you have to automate. Got it? Without selected, then you have to automate using the click. Okay. See how an object creation is forcing us to send ask a web element. We are just creating an object. How it is forcing us to pass the argument. Okay. If you see here, when I tell you the rules of constructor initially, just gave you an introduction to the constructor of the last class. We'll quickly cover that. Constructor name and class name should be same. Okay, in any class you can create the constructor, no return type. If you don't create any constructor, there will be always a default constructor. Without your knowledge, there will be always a default constructor. When you create an object, the default constructor will help to load the non-static variable with default values. Okay, helps to load the non-static variable with default values. The default constructor will be used. We can override the default constructor by our own constructor by creating a constructor with argument, without argument. Both option you can create. If you see here, I have created an object for student class, employee class. First time I created an object here. Like I created a constructor. Assume that here we are writing a browser launch code. I have created a constructor name, class name should be same. It is basically the object part, this part, initialization part. Okay, whenever you create an object, this gets called. You see, whenever I create the object, this gets called. Now you can just assume that because of this only browser launch is happening. I am creating 3 times Chrome driver object, means 3 times browser will be launched. All will be independent object. Okay, so you can see 3 times it ran. That's the concept here. Now it's a constructor without parameter. Now let me do one thing. I'll create a constructor with parameter. Int count I'll give. I have given a constructor with integer. Okay, I'll give employee ID also. I'll give employee ID. I want the whoever try to create an object for this employee class, they have to pass the integer. I wanted to make sure whoever try to use this employee class, they have to send the employee ID. Now, how many constructor I have in this class right now? Leave about the default constructor, the one which I created. How many constructor I have created right now in this class? Only one constructor with argument. Okay, only one constructor with argument. Whatever it is, if you have created any constructor, you have to call that constructor only. Okay, if you have created a constructor explicitly, if we create the constructor explicitly, then while creating an object, you need to call that only. While creating object, you need to call that only. Okay, so you see here my entire program is throwing error. All these places is throwing error. You can see here. It is exactly similar to select class. When we create a select class without passing the argument, it was throwing the error, right? Now it becomes a prerequisite. Whoever try to use my class, my data type, employee, they will be creating an object and trying to use my data type. While creating an object, we are forcing them to give the ID. If they are not giving the ID, we are not allowing them to create an object. We made employee ID as a prerequisite. Okay, that's the concept here. You can see here. All these are throwing error. Now, while creating an object itself, it will force you to pass the argument. You can see it tells exactly you can create an object only by passing the integer 101, 102, 103. Okay, and one more method I have. That method is also having some construct. Let me comment it. You can see here. Only you cannot if they have double and all, you cannot pass because we have a constructor only with integer. During the runtime, it will object is getting created. You see it comes to this employee ID will be passed here, the number 101. If I want to store it to this employee ID, I can do it. Okay. Here object is getting created. Now whenever you create an object, this just going to the source code without reset. Now while creating an object, you can see it goes to this constructor, pass the employee ID. First object is getting created. Okay, second object and third object. Third object I'm sending 103. You can see it. I can allocate easily the value to the employee ID. Right now it's 0 only. To allocate that employee ID value, I can do this. Okay, I can do empid equal to empid. Now you see here, all of you listen carefully. This problem, how to handle this. The local variable is empid. Non-static instance variable is also empid. Now you see there's a warning. Okay, whatever you are doing, it's not going to it is not going to have any effect. Okay, a local variable will be given higher preference. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do something like this: a and the a equal to 10 and the a equal to a, which is not going to make any sense, right? It's exactly the same warning here. Okay, how now the conflict is between local variable and instance variable. How can we fix this? I can give a different name here. Let me give ID. Okay, see, now the issue is fixed. This is one thing. I can give something like X and then I'll give some different name X here. It's fixed. While creating an object, if you see, while creating an object itself, employee ID will be set. X is passed here and that X will be added to employee ID in the current object, first object. First object will have EMP1, employee ID as 101. Second object will have, I am passing 102. So that EMP object in second object will have EMP 102. Similarly, third object will have EMP3. Understood? While creating, we are making it as prerequisite. Employee ID is set. Then we can go for next options. Okay, fine. Any doubts with this? Now, while creating an object, it will end user. We are only creating the object, right? Task for X. What is X? We will not have an idea about X, right? So we don't give variable name like X, A, B, C, D and all. We have to give a proper naming. Proper naming in the sense, if you are updating employee ID, give employee ID. If you are updating employee name, give employee name. Now, just make a note on keyword, how to distinguish between the local variable and instance variable. Java, we will be using a keyword called this. In Java, we will be using a keyword called this keyword. Okay. This is the keyword, which helps us. This will be pointing to the current object. This will be pointing to the current object. So here I'll be using this dot. This dot, you can see employee ID, employee name, salary, all the non-static variable like emp1 dot you are doing, right? During the object creation, this keyword will point to that particular object. Okay. So this will point to current object. Okay. Basically, it helps us to distinguish between instance variable, local variable. Okay, this dot will be pointing to the instance variable. That's how we have to avoid the conflict. Is it clear for you? Got an idea about this constructor? First object will be having that 101. Second object, you can see this will be pointing to the current object. During the object creation, this keyword will point to the current object. Now, once the object is created, it will be pointed by emp2 also. Now, this keyword will be pointing to third object. Inside that object only, you have employee ID, name, salary. That's the concept here. So, got an idea about this constructor? We'll see about constructor overloading, method overloading, and all later. Now we'll get back to the Selenium. In Selenium, what we need to know is how to create an object. While creating an object, how browser launch is getting happen. That is through constructor. That knowledge we should have. And if you see the select class, it is posing us to end the web element because there is a class called select. That class is having the constructor with web element. To verify it, you can use this document. Select is a class. You can see class select package coming from this package, and constructor. How many constructor we have here? One constructor. What's the argument it's asking for? Web element.
Web element.
Okay. Now to supply web element, just use driver.find element. That's what we need to do. You can store it and send it also. Store it in web element and send it, like the way we did it for a launch browser. That is also fine. Store it and send it, or you can directly send it. Okay, fine. Let's go for the next step. In Facebook, any other doubts with the assignment? The script, we have done it in the last class. I click on create an account and there is a drop down here. Assume that I wanted to select 12 April 2010. 12 April 2010. Okay. To do that, first what you need to do is you have to inspect. And if you are trying to inspect from this Chrome is being controlled by automated software. Okay, inspect it 2 times. Always it will go to the body section, inspect it 2 times. Okay, and you see what is the tag name here? You can see the tag name is select tag. If you see select tag, go to the script. You can create the object before clicking on sign up. Before choosing the radio button itself, I'll do it. Here I'll do it. So to create the object of select tag, select day equal to new select tag. Put it select tag and then web element it will ask. If it is asking for web element, driver.find element by dot. You can use any option by dot ID name, ID name, XPath, anything is fine. Here there is an ID, so let me go for ID. Dot ID. First, you have to make sure object is created. Now, using that object reference, you can call the method select by index. I'll show you select by index. How to use select by index. Now, select by index, in a sense, you can see first. Let me show you this. What should, if I want to select 12, what will be the index point? First option is 0th index.
11.
11, right? So that will be the option. When you exactly know that, you can go for it. Otherwise, always prefer to go for text. Value is also fine here. Let me use value for this. Same object you need to create one more time. You need to create because there is one more select tag is there. Select month. Now using select month, I can call any of the reference. Select month dot select by value I'll use. Okay. Select tag also there is the ID name, whatever it is you can use. Let me use name. Concept will be same. Okay, you have to just approach it in a different ways. Here month you can see here select by value I'm using. Text is what preferred actually. It's better to go with text, but here it's just value. You can go for value also, but first preference will go for text only. Text is APR. If I use text APR, value is 4 for April. I can give value 4. String only we need to. Next, there is a month like year. Okay, year. Let me go for XPath. Assume that there is no ID name. I'll show you with XPath. Select name, square bracket, @ area label equal to year. This is the XPath. Pointing to the element. Use single quote for XPath. Now to use this XPath, you can copy it, create an object for select class, select year equal to new. While creating an object, ask for the web element, driver dot find element by dot XPath. Find the XPath. Next, select dot select by visible text. There will be an option like deselect. You don't use deselect. You will get confused something. While choosing select, make sure it is starting from select. Sometimes you will be selecting deselect option. I want to select 2000. Let me put that 2010 text. Okay. So we have to automate the dropdown. New one option. It is a select tag, so that's why I'm using select class object and doing it. Okay, this is also drop down only. Select tag only. You can inspect it, choose the option. You can see here. Text is too huge. You can give this text, otherwise you can go for value. Okay. So got an idea about this? Click, type, select, and implicit wait. Implicit wait you can understand here. Okay. Once I run without implicit wait, you can see it will load the facebook.com. It will wait for the page load. Once the page load is done, for sure, create an account will be there. So it will click on create an account. But after creating an account, you can see after creating an account, it takes some time to display this sign up activity. Before that, it will check for that element and throw the error. It's not a page load. So before that, it will try to check in 0.5 second, it checks for it. So that will be too less to throw and inform the error to the development team. We have to check for some time before throwing the error. So we'll increase the implicit wait from 0 to 30. So any doubts with this? Shall we move on with the next concept? See, CAPTCHA is something which is to stop the automation only. CAPTCHA is something to stop the automation only. That is not for intended for automation. Okay. Basic CAPTCHA, if the CAPTCHA is asking for image and all, we cannot do anything. If it is just asking you to click on it, then any application you have with CAPTCHA. See these things and all, if it is a readable text, we can try to get the text and do the operation. If it is an image, sometimes you will have to click on that image. Once you click on it, it will ask to choose the image, like choose car, bus and all. Those are the things which is to stop the automation only. We will not be able to automate that feature. Okay. Mostly it will be implemented in production environment. And when it is implemented in production environment, in QA environment, we should inform them to not implement to run the automation. Okay. so that to stop the automation process. So that sometimes some local applications, what happens is they will give the captcha, something like read and write the exact sentence. That if you inspect, you will be able to see the text. During that time, we can do get text and send the text. That will work. Okay, fine. Now, when it comes to Selenium, three important concepts will be there. Okay, so three important concepts. One is frame, and how to handle multiple tabs, windows, and then alert. Okay, to handle this, you have to use a method called switch to. There's a method in Java Selenium called switch to handle all these three operations: frame, multiple tabs, alert. In that, frame is the only hidden concept. Frame is the only hidden concept. The rest, everything will be straightforward. When you click on some link, it will open in a new tab. That you have to know to new tab and do the operation. That's going to be straightforward. Alert, sometimes you navigate to some URL, you see alert box. This kind of alert box comes into picture, which you can't inspect. Sometimes you get pop-up that you will be able to inspect. This one we can't inspect. How to handle the alert box? For all these things, we will be using a switch to method only. First, I'll give you an introduction to frame and we'll cover the frame. Then we'll go for multiple tabs and alert. Okay. First, we'll understand what is a frame by running it in some application. Let me do that. Some basic operations is clear for you. And remember that exceptions. Exception is something which you need to remember. We have seen two exceptions. One is driver related exception. The other one is when the locator is wrong, we are going to get no such element exception. Okay. Now, if you see this go to meeting, in go to meeting, I'll comment this line. Which line? This clicking on trustee that cookie which I was asking, right? I've commented it. And I'll run it. Listen carefully. What I'm doing is I'm loading the gotomeeting.com and then immediately I'm trying to click on try free. Implicit wait is there. See what is going to happen. We are getting an error. Now you see what is the error we are getting right now. Exception in thread main, org.openqa.selenium. It's a class only. Element click intercepted exception. Click intercepted element anchor tag. We are trying to click on this anchor tag. Is not clickable at point. Other element would receive the click. We are trying to click on the try free anchor tag, but other element is receiving the click. See which element is receiving the click. That particular pop-up. Okay. Right now, what's happening right now? You see above the try free, you see an pop-up. Above the try free, you see this pop-up, right? So when you try to do a click activity, the element should be present and visible in the UI. It should be properly visible like this. If it is not visible or it is hidden by some pop-up, or if it is some pop-up comes above that link, okay, or that particular button or anything, you will be getting this error element intercept exception. Now, how to fix this exception? It depends on the scenario. In this scenario, how to fix it? Element intercepted exception. This is the in Selenium. Rarely you can take some 8 exceptions will be there repeatedly. You'll get these exceptions only, so you should be able to handle it. So how to fix this exception right now? In this case, element click intercepted. In Selenium, if you want to use click operation, element should be present and visible. Okay. Now To handle this, we have to click on this pop-up. Got it? Just we have to click on this pop-up. Since I gave the step, you are directly clicking on it. Otherwise, you will be getting element click intercepted exception. Okay. Got it? This error, element click intercepted, when you get it, is it clear for everyone? No such element you will be getting when the element is not available, locator is not available. Element click intercepted. Similarly, element click not interactable will be there, element not interactable, stale element exceptions will be there. So no such window exception. So these exceptions, you need to understand the scenarios. Okay. Now, this is one of the important concept. As I told you, this is the only hidden concept in Selenium. So listen carefully. Okay, let me first create a new package inside Selenium concept. I'll give the package name as com.nsc.advanced. Okay. Now, in this particular package, in order to rename the package, you can do refactor rename. I'll keep it as Selenium Advanced. Selenium Advanced. Inside that package, I'm going to create one class. Let me give the class name as demo1. Easy understanding. Demo1 frame. Okay, with main method is what I'm going to create. Main method. Okay. Now I'm going to launch the browser. After launching the browser, I'm going to navigate to a URL. After navigating to the URL, I'll tell you the URL. If you want to practice with me, try to practice. Just by using this URL, htfc.banking.com. This is the URL. So let me do this. Understand it properly, and you can easily do it. I'm going to navigate to this URL. After navigating to this URL, there's a text box, customer ID, user ID. I want to enter some text here. Let me inspect it. Which option we can use to enter this text? What locator we can use? Yeah, name is there, right? So let me use name. Okay, now I'll go over here. Operation is same only. I'm going to find the element and do the operation. Find element. Now I'm going to use name, and then pass the name, and then click on it. That's the operation I'm trying to do. Now I'll run this. I've given the implicit wait as 10 seconds. Sorry, were you able to see my screen? I just got hands something. Okay, I've just written this code, driver.find element by.name. That name I copy pasted and clicked on it. Let me run this script. I have changed the implicit wait to 10 seconds. Now you see it load the URL and then it is trying to send the text. It's not able to send the text. Let's keep on trying. And when we will, it is going to throw the error. Okay, it will throw error after 10 seconds. Is that clear for you? Why it is after 10 seconds? Okay, this element is not there actually. That's why it is keep on trying for that element. After 10 seconds, we are getting the error. If I give 30 seconds, it will throw this error. Now understand this. When you get this no such element exception, when will you get this exception? Basically, no such element exception, unable to locate element, name equal to FID, login user ID. When will we get this exception, no such element exception? When the locator is wrong. Basically, when the locator is not available in the application, you will be getting whatever the locator you are given. If it is not available, you will be getting. First thing, what you need to do when you get this error, first, whatever the locator you write, first verify it. Let me copy the XPath. Let me copy the name and I'll write the XPath here. I'll write the XPath here. Okay. Control F. What's the tag name here? The tag name here is input tag / input square bracket update name equal to a particular name. Is it pointing to that element? You see the locator is correct, right? Now, even though the locator is correct, this will be the first stage to identify the frame. Even though locator is correct, we will get the error as no such element exception. Even though locator is correct, we will get this error. Even though locator is correct, we will get this error. Now, okay. That is the first occurrence of the frame. When you get this error, you have to check for tag name, iframe, or frame. Okay, and then you have to handle the frame. Then your operation will work as usual. What is frame? This is a way to identify the frame. Otherwise, you have some plugin to identify and all, but this is the way to identify. First, we'll understand what is a frame from development perspective. Okay, first we'll understand what is the frame, what is called frame by development perspective. Let me open some basic HTML page. Online HTML editor. Okay. This is the basic HTML page. It has a header paragraph. I'll create a input tag input. Okay, input type equal to, it's from development perspective, type equal to text. I'll create this type equal to text. Just understand this. No need to these things and all you don't want to create. I'm just creating some HTML content. Type equal to text, type equal to password, and then type equal to file. And then if you run it, this is the script which I'm writing. Let me copy this HTML first, and then I'll save the code. It's asking to log in. Okay, I'll let me open a notepad, and then I'll save inside the notepad. Whatever the script I have written in this HTML, I'll put it in this notepad, and I'll do save as. In the desktop, I'll do save as demo1.html. HTML file you can create it by saving it as .html. Okay, I've saved it. A simple HTML which I created in the desktop, demo1.html. If I open it, it will open in the browser. This is the one which I created. Basic HTML. Here you can open with the notepad and you can edit all these things you can do. I just created page title. I'll keep it as a demo1 page. That's the title. I'll save it. I'll go to this site and refresh it. Okay, you can see the one page I created, a simple HTML. Okay, I'll create one more HTML. I'll keep that as demo2. One more HTML I'm going to create, that I'm going to keep it as demo2. And then in this HTML, I'm going to give some functionalities. In this HTML, I'm going to give some button. Instead of these things, I'm going to give a button. Button. It's an HTML, so no, you don't want to create and all, just understand it. Button, login with Google, and the 3 button I'll create it. Login with Google, login with Facebook, log in with LinkedIn. I've created 3 buttons. This is demo2.page. 2 different pages I created. Okay, this is demo 1. This is demo 2. First, a basic HTML is clear for you what I created. Now, assume that I have my application, 3-4 applications I have. In all my applications, I wanted to give the feature like login with Google, login with Facebook, and then login with LinkedIn. Okay, for that, what I need to do is I have to create this code. This button, I need to create it each and every file, right? This button, I need to create it in each and every file. So I have to repeat this code. Suppose if I want to remove anything, I wanted to create this each and every file. Suppose if I don't want, like I don't want one feature, then assume that I have some 10 application, and all the 10 application, I have to create this button. Now I want to modify something or I want to remove something, means I have to sit and remove from all 10 applications. Okay. So to avoid these complexities and all, we can embed this HTML, this particular HTML demo2.html, we can embed in this demo1.html. Okay. How? By using the concept called frame. There is a tag name called iframe, which will ask for src. src equal to, I can give the other HTML detail, demo2.html. Now, whatever is there in this HTML, demo2.html will get embedded here. Okay, in demo one itself, it will get embedded. Let me show you by refreshing. Do you see this option? Whatever was there in the demo2.html got embedded in demo one itself. Okay, so mostly the scorecard application like a ClickBus scorecard, which will keep on changing, and news applications and all. The main template will be same. The breaking news content will be keep on changing. So they will be keep on working on different frame details. Okay. Mostly the YouTube videos will be playing in the blocks. If you want to embed the YouTube videos also, you can use this option. Okay. The frame options you can use. See here. I'll tell you about that. Now, okay, let me do one thing. Let me go to the page source of. First, all of you got an idea what I did over here. In one HTML, I tried to embed some other HTML. Is it clear for you? Now, assume that I wanted to click on login with Google. I wanted to click on login with Google. Let me go to view page source. Do you see login with Google here? Login with Google option?
No.
No, it's not there. So if you try to search for it, it will throw error. That is what's happening in our case. The exact scenario is where we got struck out. If you go to view page source, here you see there is no FID login user ID. That login user ID, that name itself is not there. You can see here. It's not there in the page source. Okay. Let me close this. Now coming back to this demo one, you see when I go to view page source, it's not there. Just frame detail will be there. Inside this demo2.html only, you have that buttons and all. It's not going to be there in this HTML. Now we are searching in this HTML. That's why we are getting that no such element exception. But during the inspect, what happened is, during the inspect, it should show the frame detail only. During the inspect, it should show the frame detail only. But Chrome is expanding this frame and giving you the detail. This is the actual code, but Chrome is expanding this frame, this HTML, and giving you the detail. HTML, inside that header, I use the demo2. There you see the button. Got it? So when you inspect it, actually we are getting this particular script. That's why we are getting the XPath and all, it's correct. So in order to click on this button, first we have to move from this HTML to this HTML. And then you have to do the operation. Basically get into the frame, do the operation. Then once the operation is done, we have to come to the main HTML. Got it? Everyone got an idea about frame? not only one frame, you will be seeing lots of frame in the applications. Okay, in a page there will be a number of frames. It depends on the application. Mostly the application which you work might have lots of frame details. Okay, so right now you inspect it and check for the tag name. Control F, tag name frame you check, / frame you check. It will not, if it is not there, check for iframe. Only these two tags will have frame detail. Depends on the programming they use. Okay. Now you see YouTube videos and all, as I told you, right? If you see in some blog, YouTube videos will be running. How YouTube's video will be running in those blogs is, let me copy this. Click on it. Here, copy embed video, embed code will be there. Let me copy it and put it in my demo1.html. In demo1.html and save it. You see here, iframe, the source detail is YouTube. I saved it. Let me go to this demo. You can see that frame got embedded here. In the blogs and all, you can see these kind of frame. Okay, it's a frame coming from this option. So that is the concept of frame. You will not know upfront whether it is inside the frame or not. Only by doing the operation we'll come to know. Doing the operation in this and the same way. We'll identify the element, do the operation. If we get no such element exception, check for the XPath. Even though the locator is correct, if it is throwing error, check for frame. Okay, to handle this frame, there are three options. To handle this frame in Selenium, to handle it, there are three options. One is using index. Using index you can do, or using name or ID as a string. Name or ID as a string. Other option is using the web element. Okay, first I will give an idea about web element. Later you can check on all these things. Using web element. Okay, let me go over here. The options will be there. Driver dot, before doing the operation, driver dot switch to dot frame. Okay, driver dot switch to dot frame. Then you have to use any one of these options. Let me use web element and show you the detail. Now we have to identify the frame detail. Okay, to identify the frame detail, what you need to do is you just want to inspect your element. This is the options which you have. You have to inspect your element. After inspecting the element, click on up arrow mark in your keyboard. Just click on up arrow mark. You will be able to see HTML document frame detail. You have to write the XPath for the frame detail and you have to handle it. Okay. Same way I have to handle it HTFC also. First I'll inspect the element. Let me inspect the element. Now after inspecting the element, I will try to click on up arrow mark. While clicking on up arrow mark, you have to check for the tag name HTML. You can see head HTML document frame. You see here almost entire content in this page comes under the frame. The entire content in this page comes under the frame. So once you get into this HTML, you can cover all these elements like clicking on forgot customer ID, clicking on continue, and clicking on this credit card only, prepaid card only. So all these comes under the frame. So once you get into the frame, you can control the entire element. No need to get into the frame again and again. This first from this HTML, we'll get into this HTML. That is, we'll get into this frame. Then we can cover all these elements. Then once that is done, you have to get back to the main HTML. Let me do that. Now, the tag name is frame. What are the attributes we have here? The frame details.
Width and height,
Yeah.
size,
width, height, and then
resize.
Yeah. So margin width, margin height, name is there, SRC is there, no resize, scrolling is there. Okay. So let me write the XPath. Here name is there, so I can write XPath using the name. So this options I'll use it. Let me close all these things. I'll give you a few more XPath. Just make a note of it. I just told you 2 XPath. Now using this name is there, so I can use this. So one XPath is / frame square bracket @name equal to that particular name or ID you can directly give, but anyhow I'll explain the option first. This option first, web element. So first you have to write the XPath for the frame. After writing the XPath for the frame, you can take the XPath. Before doing the operation, the click on that element, you have to use driver dot switch to. Switch to is the method which will be used in this scenario. That's frame alert dot frame. Frame will be there. Method with same name. We'll see about that. And you can see it will ask for the web element. Okay, anyone you can choose. We are going to pass the web element. How do you get the web element? Which method gives us web element?
Find element.
Yeah, so you can use driver dot find element dot name or XPath, whatever it is you can use. Let me use XPath and give the XPath. Okay. This is the option to get into the frame using web element. Okay, driver dot switch to dot frame. You see here when I run the script, it will get into the frame. Once the page load is done, it will get into the frame and do the operation. Okay. Let me give a proper frame detail. I think I close. Okay, let me try to send the text right. So send the keys. It just performs a click actually. So it performed the click also. So I have to type it right. Text box. If you got an idea about frame, just understand what is frame. Frame is nothing but HTML embedded into HTML. That's it. Okay, get into the frame and send the text. Now I want to click on continue. See, all these continue option is also coming inside the same frame. Okay, continue option is also coming inside the frame. Just check for the frame detail properly. Okay, the continue you see, I want to click on continue. That also is inside the same frame. Okay, same frame. Already we are into the frame. To click on continue, just inspect the element. It's basically a tag and it has a text here. And if you see continue here, it's in uppercase. Here also it's in uppercase. So no issues. If you see here, it is in lowercase and here it is in uppercase. If you see the mismatch in the case of the text, then what you do is write the XPath. Right now it's fine because both are in uppercase. Sometimes in the UI it will be in uppercase, whereas here it will be in lowercase. Okay, you have to give what is present in the UI. Otherwise, what you do is if you see a mismatch, go for XPath. Right now it's a proper code, so I can just identify the element. Already we are into the frame, so I can identify the element, clicks on that element. Okay, once you're done with all these operations, you can see when I click on it, once I click on it, after entering the text, click on it, it goes to some other page. When it is there is a page change or we are done with the operation, immediately you need to come to the main HTML. It's important to get into the main HTML. To do that, you have to use driver dot switch to dot default content. Driver dot switch to dot default content, which will go to the main HTML. Okay. Once you complete the operation, you have to do this. Suppose in some page, what you will do is you will get into the frame, do the operation, then you will go to the main HTML. Again, you will get into some other frame, do the operation. So it will be keep on repeated. Okay. Fine. Clear for you? Got an idea about how to handle the frame? Web element you can prefer always. Two more option is there that I'll quickly show you. Any doubts you have in this frame, please let me know. This frame I'll tell you using web element. Okay, frame web element, we have handled it. Using frame web element, we have handled it. Any doubts with this? Clear for everyone? Fine. So I'll quickly give you an idea about how to use other options. Other options in the sense, demo 2, how to use name. Okay, demo 2 using name I'll give. Okay. Demo 1 I have used the refactor rename using web element. The option is there, as I told you. The options are there. One is by using the web element, the other one is by using name or ID. Okay, the name or ID you can use when it comes to frame, to handle the frame. Name or ID you can use. Okay, let me show you that. Here, while switching into the frame, you have three options. Name or ID as a string. You can give the name as a string itself. What is the name of the frame? You can see there is a name called login underscore page. For that only we have written the export. We can give the name directly. This will also work by using the name and getting into the frame. Name or ID, you can give it as a string. Okay, enter the data, clicks on continue. Okay, now by using the index, first you need to understand, quite difficult only going with the index. You need to understand how many frame available in this page. Let me first understand the tag name, then you try to check for it. Okay. Here, over here, and check for / iframe. How many frame available in this page? This will filter all the tag name with frame. How many frames are available here? You will get the count here. 1 of 1 or 1 of 2, 1 of 3. Right now, only one frame available here. Okay. So index point, what will be the index point then? First frame, if I want to get into, what will be the index point? Index point
0.
starts with 0.
0.
Yeah. Index point starts with 0. So you can simply mention frame index 0. That will also work. But it's difficult when you have 3-4 frame in the page. See, it's also going to work. These are all different ways to handle the frame. Got it? Understood what is frame? Let me know if you have any doubts. You have to practice on few websites, then you will get a clarity. Okay. Now, let me quickly get back to the Java concept here. If I try to type driver.switch2.frame, you see driver.switch2.frame, you see I'm getting three method with same name. How it is possible? Okay, how they are creating a three method with same name. We'll see that. And then you see here, I create an object for Chrome driver. When I create an object for Chrome driver, see how many constructors it is shown over here. Chrome driver without parameter, Chrome driver with capabilities, Chrome driver service, Chrome options it's asking for, service and capabilities, service and option. You see these many constructors are there in a class. In a class, you can see these many constructors. Chrome driver, you can see in this particular Chrome driver, you can see these many constructors. Chrome driver depreciated means it will be removed quickly. So maybe in the next release, it will be removed. So you can see without parameter, with parameter, different constructors are there. Okay. In a class, you can create n number of constructor. In a class, you can create n number of constructor. Let me quickly give you an idea about it. See, we have a constructor with parameter. Okay. I can create n number of constructors, something like that. Duplicate is not allowed. You see, exact duplicate is not allowed. It's not going to work. It's an error. Duplicate code means it's an error. What I can do is I can create n number of constructor by changing number of parameter, sequence of parameter, data type of parameter. You can see this constructor is without argument. I can create a n number of, it depends on the scenario only. If you want, you can create, otherwise it's not like you have to create it always. We call it as constructor overloading. Constructor overloading, which is also called as compile time polymorphism, and also called static polymorphism. Okay. Same way, we can create n number of method with same name. Constructor name and class name will be same, so it should be same only. But method also you can do that. Method overloading. Okay, you can create n number of constructor by changing this option. Number of parameter, data types of parameter, and then sequence of parameter. Same way, you can create n number of method with same name. Let me quickly show you first a constructor, and then I'll quickly show you the method. It takes 5 minutes. We'll quickly complete that. You can see I've created a constructor. I can change a number of parameter. Here there is one parameter. You put two parameter. That is double B. I'll give something like. Okay, you can see change in number of parameter. And then data types. You can see this is an integer. I can create a constructor with a double or something. I'll create double. I'll remove all these scripts. Okay, for temporarily. I have a constructor without argument with integer, change in data type of parameter, change in number of parameter, here 2 parameter, here 1 parameter, sequence of parameter, sequence in the sense here double and int by changing sequence of parameter. Like this, you can create a number of constructor based on your requirement. You can see I've created lots of constructor. Now, while creating an object, it will give you all the options. While creating an object, it will give you all the options, like the way Chrome driver was showing. Based on our requirement, we'll be passing it. Suppose if I want to pass name, and then if I wanted to pass ID, I can give int comma string. Now, do we have any constructor which accepts string? Do we have any constructor which accepts string?
No.
No. Suppose if you, by mistake, if you pass some randomly string and all, it will throw error during the compile time. You see immediately it will throw error. If I pass something like 10.2, now it will take the constructor which accepts double. It will fix during the compile time, during the generation of bytecode. Compile time is nothing but source code to bytecode. That's your compile time. Source code to bytecode is compile time. Bytecode to output we are doing, that's your runtime. During the compile time itself, it will be decided which constructor to be called. Okay, so that's why we call it as compile time polymorphism. All these are going to be called as compile time polymorphism. The method to be called is decided, the constructor to be called is decided during the compile time. Now you see here, if I give 10.2 comma 10.2, there is no constructor which accepts to double. Immediately it will do that. Okay. It's basically called constructor overloading. Now, I'm going to create one new package com dot nsc dot method overloading. Let me create one new class here. Calculator. Inside this class, I'm going to create some method like public void add, and two argument I'll keep int a, int b. See here the method. To call the method either static or non-static, you have to decide. It's non-static, so you have to create object. Static means you can call it using the class name. Say I can create n number of method with same name, but duplicates are not allowed. By following this rule, you can create n number of methods. Okay, n number of methods with same name. Can create any methods with same name by changing number of parameter. Here there is 2 parameter. I can create 3 parameter. By changing number of parameter, I can create these methods, these kind of methods. Okay, same method I can create. Now, number of parameter, data types of parameter. First one you can see int, and int I can give int and double, and also by changing sequence of parameter. Sequence in the sense double, already int double is there, I can change to double int sequence of parameter. By following this particular rule, you can create n number of method with same name. Okay. I'll create one more class inside the same package, and with main method I'll call the method. If it is a static method, I'll be using a class name and call it. If it is a non-static method, I'll create an object. Non-static method right now. You can create static method also. Now, if you see obj dot, it will show you all the method. If I pass 10 comma 10, okay, 10 comma 10, it will take the method which accepts 2 integer. Okay, method to be called is decided during the compile time. The method to be called is resolved during the compile time. Okay. The best example of method overloading is nothing but system.out.println. You can see the println method. Lots of println method. There are lots of println method. Okay, with accept boolean, character, double. This is a method overloading concept. Inside the same class, you see lots of println method. And another example in Selenium is frame. You see this frame concept, which will accept same name, different argument, different data types. Okay, this is also overloading concept. Example of overloading concept. In these cases and all, if I pass frame of 0, it will take index. If I pass 10 comma 10, it will try to take the method which accepts 2 integer, and it will call only that method. You see, when I run the program, it shows exactly int comma int. During the runtime, it will call the same method. Okay, if there is any conflict, you will get the conflict detail during the compile time itself. If I give 10 comma 10.2, 10.0, it will go for int comma double. Got it? Okay, method overloading is clear for you. You can create a number of methods by changing number of parameter, data type, sequence of parameter. Why we call it as compile time polymorphism. First of all, what is polymorphism? Polymorphism is nothing but many form. That's it. Okay, more than one form. Ability of a message to display in a more than one form. You can see add is a method, employee constructor is there. It will act in a different way based on the argument we pass. Okay, but it has only one form, basically one phase add, but it will do different operations based on the argument you pass. That's the concept of polymorphism. We call this as a compile time polymorphism. Method overloading is the concept. This concept, if you achieve it, it is a compile time polymorphism because the method to be called is dissolved during the compile time. Compile time methods and all, like method to be called during compile time decided, right? Those things will be shown by Eclipse. For example, if there is a conflict, listen here, I'm going to give 10, 10. Which method will be called right now if I do 10, 10? Best suitable method it will try to call. Which method will be called right now? 10, 10.
Constructor having two integers.
Yeah, it's a method. Okay. Method, it's a method basically. Calculator class, I created a method. Okay. Constructor is employee, that's fine. So you can see here method with two integer, right? It's a method. You see, it's a method. It can be a static or non-static method. If I created a static method, how will you call the static method? Can be static or non-static at your wish. Okay. To call the static method, I would use class name and call it. That's it. Okay. Now, whatever it is, it's less than here. I'm passing calling an add method by passing two integer 10, 10. So the method to be called is resolved actually. It is going to take this method 10, 10. That's what it will show you. Now let me do one thing. Assume that this method is not there. Now which method will be taking 10, 10, which is the best suitable method?
Int and double.
Yeah, so now you see 10, 10 can be passed here as well as you can pass here also. 10, 10. Here also you can pass and here also you can pass. Now Java itself will get into a confusion to call which method. Now it will show some ambiguity here. You can see it is having a confusion to go with which method. Int comma double is ambiguous for the type calculator. Okay, either it should be using this method or this method. If I comment this method also, if I comment this method, then it will take the method which accepts the int comma double. But if we have this kind of confusion, those will be resolved during the compile time method. If you have best match comma int, it will take that method. No error in that case. Got it? Clear for you? The method to be resolved is during the compile time. That's why we call it as compile time polymorphism. We'll see runtime polymorphism. Friday I'll explain that. The method to be called is resolved during the runtime. During the runtime, it will take a different method and run. That I'll show you. Now this is your method overloading. Same method name can be static or non-static. In a single class, you can have n number of methods with same name by changing number of parameters, sequence of parameter, data type. Similarly, you can create n number of constructor by changing number of parameters, sequence, data type. And during the call of the object, constructor will be called. Constructor is also kind of method only. But these methods are going to be called during the object creation. That's it. This is the actual method. Got an idea about this? And example, you can take it as frame. Frame is a method overloading concept. It's clear for you? I'll give one assignment. You guys can try that assignment. I'll post it in the drive link. You can check it after some time. So any doubts till now? Is it clear for everyone? Today we discussed on selecting the drop down value using text value index, and then some exception, element click intercepted exception, and then frame concept in this. And if you have any doubts, let me know. Till now, whatever we discussed, and we connected to GitHub. Other projects also you can connect to GitHub and add it. Let me try to push it to GitHub. Let me know if you have any doubts. Good. Practice the assignment which I'll be sharing it today. And in the next class, I'll collect Selenium code and so in the GitHub. You guys know how to connect it, right? You already discussed, right? Just go through that and connect it. I'll connect it in the next class, the Selenium concept. That's all for today's session. If you have any doubts, you can let me know. Otherwise, you can check the drive link to access the assignment and complete the assignment. If you don't have any doubt, you can leave for the day. I'll upload the assignment. Right now, Java code is there. The Selenium code, I did not move it. I'll move it in the next class. I want you to demonstrate that. Let me ping you the repository detail. NSC, I created Java concept NSC. Java concept is there. Selenium, I'll connect it in the next class. This is a Java code, updated Java code. That's all for today's session. Assignment, you can check it in another 30 minutes. I'll upload it. You can leave for the day. Yeah, welcome. I'll close the meeting then. See you in the next class. Bye everyone. Please update others also to do the same.